What's going on, everyone? I'm back with another Anorexia Talks video, and today I'm going to be talking about binging. I figured this would be an appropriate time to do a video on binging because if you're in the States, Thanksgiving is coming up on Thursday, yay, and if you're not in the States, the holiday season is coming up in general, so I figured this is something that I should touch upon before we delve into those months. So what is binging? I define it as a conscious overeating or eating past the point of fulfillment but knowingly doing this. This is something that is not only displayed in people with eating disorders, but people in general. It can become a bad habit. It can happen for many reasons. And I'm gonna talk about how it affects the eating disorder community and then people who are healthy and how it affected me and how I'm dealing with it now. There's basically two main types of eating disorders, well, that we think of every day, and that's anorexia and bulimia. And bulimia is more often associated with the behaviors of binging and then purging. So essentially just overeating and then purging your body of that food, whether it's with a laxative or making yourself throw up, or in some cases just over-exercising to make up for the overeating that you've done. But this is a very conscious behavior. You're knowingly going on a binge. You're knowingly overeating, eating past the point of fullness, eating everything in sight. It's different for everyone, but it's all the same idea. And then the purge is kind of to purge your body or get rid of this excess of calories that you've consumed, or make up for it, as some people like to say. Now, this is something that I want to talk about because it doesn't only affect people with bulimia, and I think this is very contrary to popular belief. I think it's important to talk about how it affects anorexics as well. I've actually come across a few people that I watch on YouTube talking about their anorexia experiences, and they kind of allude to a binging habit, but they don't really go into detail about it. And I think it's something that's really important to talk to because I think it affects a lot of people. Anorexia is often thought of as sort of a steady state, low calorie consumption type of thing, or restrictive type of thing. But now there are many different subtypes of anorexia, not just the person who just doesn't eat or restricts their calories heavily. Another type is the binge purge subtype, eating very little calories, over-exercising and eating very little calories, or some type of combination of both, or one or the other, and then consciously eating whatever they want in sort of a binge. This is a type of anorexia because you're still restricting, and it's still a very unhealthy relationship with food. Even if you don't have this subtype, during recovery, all anorexics go through a refeeding period, which I did a video about this a little while ago, so go check that out if you're interested in learning more about refeeding. But during this period of time, basically what happens is you are being forced or made to eat more than you're used to. This is a very delicate process which takes a lot of time and care because of course, you can make your relationship with food even more unhealthy than it already is by forcing yourself to eat when you're not hungry. The whole point of recovery, in my opinion, is to just really repair your relationship with food and your body. But by forcing yourself to eat more, which is something that you have to do because you have to put weight on, this can make your relationship with food even more unhealthy. Now, how does this lead to binging? During my refeeding experience, I often pushed myself past the point of fullness. This kind of made me think about food in a different way. And I thought of it as, oh, I can eat whatever I want because I have to gain weight back. And I should force myself to eat as much as I can in order to do this as fast as possible because I just wanted to be better. I didn't want to be suffering anymore. So I tried to do this process as fast as possible, which is obviously not recommended and can actually be really dangerous. Later on, this kind of established that I can eat whatever I want in the amount that I want, and because I forced myself to eat so much, my ability to tell when I was at capacity had changed and shifted and was a little bit off. And this allowed me to eat very, very large meals after recovery because I had stretched my stomach so much. I think after you go through anorexia and recovery, you maybe will try and learn how to navigate eating again. Because one thing I feel like people don't get out of recovery is how to actually eat normally. You go into recovery under eating and ignoring your hunger signals and eating minimally or unhealthily if you're bulimic or anything like that. And then during recovery, usually you have a more regular mealtime, but it is in surplus. So you are eating a lot of calories. For me, it was around 3,000 to 3,500 a day. And again, as recommended by my doctor. But after recovery, I went from eating, 500 calories a day at my worst to eating 3,000. And then once I got back to a healthy weight, what was I supposed to do? I had only known these two behaviors. So I was kind of left alone to figure out how many calories I should be eating a day. I didn't really know what the proper fullness was for me anymore because that had been totally messed up when I was eating in such a surplus. So I was scared to kind of navigate this alone. And what I ended up doing many times would be undereat a little bit because I was scared that I would continue to gain weight, and I didn't want to continue to gain weight once I was at a healthy weight. The whole point was to get healthy and stay healthy, not to get healthy and then go from one extreme to the other. Eventually, the cravings would catch up with me. I would realize that I had probably undereaten because I was feeling hungry. And then what would happen is, I would go get a bowl of ice cream or something, but then I would get in this mindset once I had sugar or broke my diet, I would get in this mindset of oh, I already broke my diet and I've undereaten this week, so I'm just gonna eat whatever I want. That ends up translating to eat as much as I can. So it goes from eating whatever I want to eating as much as I possibly can in a short amount of time. And I feel like this is a mindset that a lot of people have, perhaps a lot of dieters have as well, is, once you break your diet, you're like, okay, well, screw it. I've already eaten this chocolate bar, so I may as well go and get a pint of ice cream and a tray of brownies as well. And then that turns into a binge. And I feel like this is relatable because I feel like cheat days are becoming popular. And for the average person, that might be a great way to stay on a diet. You eat a certain amount of calories during the week, but then you have one designated day a week where you can break your diet and do whatever you want and go gung-ho. For some people, that's great. That works very well, and that keeps them disciplined without going crazy because they're restricting every day of the week, and they get this notion instilled in their minds that they can't eat certain foods because they can. They allow themselves to one day a week. But if you have an eating disorder, or if you've had an eating disorder, it can be dangerous because this cheat day can turn into a real all-out binge day, and that can be dangerous because, again, you don't want to be overeating to the point of sickness. That's not a healthy relationship to have with food. My one thing with cheat days is just approach with much caution if you are recovering from an eating disorder. And even if not, even if you're an average person with dieting and cheat days, just still be mindful on those cheat days. I would say let yourself have what you want, but recognize when you're full. Don't eat past the point of fullness. Don't binge, because this is not going to help you establish a healthy relationship with food. And this is going to potentially harm your relationship with food if it is healthy now. How do I eat now? How did I deal with my binging? Right after my anorexia, as I recovered, I did have a lot of these binge tendencies. Even now, I still have some of those tendencies because I try to eat pretty healthily, but I'm only human. I get cravings for sweets. And because I like to bake a lot, I always have access to these things. So what happens is when I get a craving, I'll eat sweets, and then I kind of a switch flips, and I'm like, okay, well, I've already broken my healthy eating for the week, so I'm just gonna binge today. And at first, this was awful. I would eat till the point of getting sick, which again, I think is a behavior that I learned from refeeding. And I didn't ever know when I was full. At this point, my body had almost like a lag, which by that I mean I would eat, and then eventually I would just get sick, and without even feeling full. So it's really hard to trust that you're not overeating when you have this issue. And I had to kind of learn to balance that. So now I still eat pretty healthily, but especially as of late, I've been having more treats, but more regularly, so I don't have this tendency to binge, and so I can learn how to incorporate them into my diet regularly. And I think that that is helping to diminish the mindset of, wow, I broke my diet, so screw it, I'm gonna eat whatever I want and as much as I possibly can. And I would recommend this technique for anyone recovering from an eating disorder in order to help yourself establish a healthy relationship with all food groups rather than the specific foods that you ate when you were restricting. I think the reason that diets fail most often because people who diet usually do extreme things like cutting out a certain food group or limiting to a certain amount of calories that's usually way less than they really need to even lose weight. And ultimately what happens is your body eventually will just fight you and will say, no, this is not right. I need more than this to make you get up in the morning. So you're gonna have to do better. And then that gives you a craving, and then you give in and then you break your diet. Because you've been restricting for so long, or because you've been restricting at all, this turns into a binge. You have one cookie because your body's craving it, the sugar, the glycogen, or whatever you've cut out, it's craving. You eat that and then you have the mindset, oh, I just broke my diet, so I may as well eat whatever I want and how much of it I want. And this is the theme of binging in general. If you never restricted in the first place, this behavior is not going to be tempting to you. If you want to be successful, even if you're on a weight loss journey and you want to be successful, figure out a way to incorporate these foods into your diet. Maybe not every day, but every few days. That way it'll be less likely for you to break your diet and go into a binge mode. You can be healthy and have cookies if you just figure out the right balance for you. Everything is a balance, right? Everything is okay to have in moderation. You don't have to just designate that to one day. Now, with the holiday season coming up, how you can deal with this is just eat what you want on Thanksgiving, eat what you want on Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate. Just stop when you're full. This is how you should generally approach eating all the time, but some people don't, and some people overeat, and that's okay. But if it becomes a regular thing, then it can be a binging habit, and this can be unhealthy. If you have any questions about binging or how to deal with it, I might do a part 2 series. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos as they come out, please hit the subscribe button. And of course, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. I hope that this video helped you. If you have any feedback, please reach out to me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.